In this world of so much negative news, we need inspiration. Be Inspired is created for appreciative audiences just like you. So please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming inspiring stories.
Forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. And this is, I was victimized, but I'm not a victim.
Be Inspired podcast. Real stories from real people. Sharing stories of love and loss, struggles and perseverance, laughter and tears, and overcoming adversity.
Well, we've all done it, or we've come close to doing it, and that is clicking on a fraudulent email or maybe clicking on a fraudulent text. Well, our guest today on Be Inspired unfortunately made the mistake of clicking on something that was sent to her, and we're here to help her to fight to get back what was stolen from her as a result of this very simple and honest mistake. Hi, I'm Bert Barron.
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
And we welcome you to a very special Be Inspired. And Lisa, I think for this time around, we're going to bat for our guest here who is joining us here on the set. You get these crazy emails and texts and things all the time, don't you?
It's, you think that you know, if you're getting something that looks suspicious. So many times you don't. And yes, I've been one that clicked on something that I shouldn't have. So I hope we do go to bat, and I hope we get some results.
It's not your fault. The bad guys are just getting better and better at what they do. And
really
we're going to talk about that today. By the way, this season of Be Inspired is brought to you by IgA Nephropathy Foundation. Carol Robinson is with us here. And Carol, welcome. It's so great to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I would have loved to have met you under different circumstances, but I'm here, and perhaps I can help others,
Well, we're here to help you help others. We're here to go to bat for you today as well.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We've been there. I can't tell you how many times I've come within a whisker of clicking on something that was sent to me with an email or a text that I'm so glad that I didn't. And you were just minding your own business and doing your regular stuff online, and you saw something pop up.
Oddly enough, I was sitting in the doctor's office and I saw this. I don't usually look at my phone because I'm old school. Phones not at the table, not at so-and-so, and I don't walk around. I'm not going to have a hunchback looking at my phone, and so on. But I tell you, I usually call companies and say, look, I think you've got a phishing. It's called phishing. Most of us know, not a little fish, a little kid, but a phishing email, okay? Mm-hmm. But for some reason, and I have to say, it had to be for a reason. And is it the reason that I have to teach others or whatever? We don't know, But this experience, or I should say, this nightmare at this stage of my life is unfathomable. I'm sure there are many seniors have experienced scamming because, listen, could you believe it's been up over 70% over last year?
Yeah.
With a loss of close to $6 billion. Wow. Let that sink in. $6 billion of lost revenue. And the banks, they're not your friend, let me tell you. Well, let me share my story. Okay, first of all, I love volunteering. And every time I would volunteer something, my husband would, and he was very supportive, he would say, how much is this going to cost me? I don't think he meant this to cost this much. And it is frightening. I mean, honestly, when I saw the paper come back or whatever, I said, I could buy a house in the neighborhood. I could buy a fleet of Mercedes or whatever. It's unbelievable. Anyway, but just to parallel per se, we all hear about COVID. COVID. It's a pandemic. Scamming, fraud, scamming. We don't hear about that much, but it's a pandemic.
It is.
All right. They parallel in the fact that with COVID, you can get a vaccine, calm you down or whatever. It has variants, Delta, Omicron, this new B4 or 5 or whatever the heck it is, and so on and so forth. And then if you do recover, and when you recover, you have what you call long haul effects. Breathing problems, hair loss, fatigue, fuzzy brain, so on and so forth. Now, roll it around. Victim of scamming. What do you have? You have variants. You have the phishing. You have the grandma, grandpa thing. Oh, calling up, my grandson, but such and so on and so forth. That happened after my husband passed away, and my girlfriend and I got on the phone and blasted this guy. Then it's the Amazon one, with the gift cards, and the IRS calling, and so on and so forth. And then when you survive that, then you have the long haul effect. Me, who was sort of like been such a, don't want to be narcissistic, but sort of like go-to person in the neighborhood, the embarrassment. I mean, absolutely. And then it's the lack of funds, of course. It's just something that's just so the inside. I mean, like my stomach went like, oh, but I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter. Yeah.
Carol, first of all, please don't feel foolish, because
that's what the FBI told me. Everybody, I hate that word, everybody, but people have said.
I have family members who are extremely smart people, and they've wired thousands of dollars to who they thought were relatives. The second thing is, for our viewers, please take us through, if you can, briefly, the exactly what it was. Was it a security thing on your? Did it have to do with a bank?
No, it had to do with a virus protection. It happened to be a McAfee virus protection. Yeah. And I saw this email, and it said $499.99. And I said, I'm not going to pay that or whatever. So I called the number. So the person says, oh, we could take care of that right away. And I said, fine. And they pull up, and it's all in red, and it's my Wells Fargo. Okay, in retrospect or whatever, now that I look back, my account number wasn't there. So they said, okay, you type in. Now realize I just had my computer come back because I had what they call sticky keys or something or other, and there was some other problem. So I typed, and I got the 5. They were going to put in $500. Okay. I hit nothing, the 0, nothing. Then all of a sudden, $50,000 goes into my account. All right. And I said, oh, and the person on the other end says, oh, okay. And I said, well, that's just a mistake. He says, you can't tell the bank it's a mistake because the banks will steal your money. I said, what do you mean? Okay. Wow. You can do a wire transfer. And yeah, right, exactly. And that started the ball rolling, okay?
That's crazy.
So now I did the wire transfer, but all the time not realizing they were controlling my computer. Wow. In retrospect, now, and I see it now, if I was to see this as a movie, I would sit there, people would say, girl, don't do that. don't do that. And then I'd say, who greenlit this movie? This person is crazy. But this is what happened. And then this went on for a while. And once the thieves, or what they would call bad actors, got into the computer, then they accessed some other stuff and so on. And the next thing I know, and the person we were talking to, I was speaking with each day, was like really like almost like my best friend and so on and so forth. It was like amazing. I mean, even we talked about the kitty cats because we had just adopted kitty cats. And it was just like, okay, so we go from there. And he says, all right, now because Pamela had come home from work, and I had to take a picture for this bank Binance or whatever the heck and so on and so forth. And it seemed legal, and everything was up and up. And then going through. And then finally it says, okay, everything's all taken care of. And then I go in and I click on my computer, said, okay, now I can write my bills. And so immediately, I click on the computer and I go to the FBI, and they're still controlling the computer because they wouldn't let me click onto the FBI. So I pull the computer shut, get on the phone, my phone, the smartphone. And I contacted the banks, and that's a trick and a half also, the FBI and so on. Working with the banks, let me tell you, if you have days to spend, and more days to spend, I think I've spoken to about maybe between about 40 different people. One afternoon, let me tell you, it was 11 different people I spoke to. I started out at 10:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Still in my nightgown, hair going, bleh, whatever the heck. Hardly had anything to eat. And Pam came home about 3:30, and I just put the phone down, and still not.
It's enough to make you, your stress level off the charts.
Oh, right.
And physically ill. I'm getting sick listening to this, and I'm getting so angry because these people are just so skilled at what they do.
Well, they call them bad actors or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
But it's also, like as I said, this is when I called the DOJ, because prior to that, I had called everybody you could think of, because as I said, being an activist in the neighborhood, you start calling and whatever the heck.
Anyone you
oh,
can.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like spaghetti. You take it up, throw it on the wall, something's going to stick, okay? That's how it's sort of like.
You even wrote to me.
That's right. Oh, my gosh, I did. I mean, I wrote Dr. Phil. I wrote the Chris Smith, and Menendez, and let's see, I think I even sent, shot an email off to Tyler Perry, and I'm saying, this is not your bailiwick, but do you think you would do a documentary on something like this or whatever?
It's huge. Yeah,
it's huge,
especially for seniors.
Right.
Even, my mom got a call last week. This is your grandson. I've been in an accident. I need money.
That's it, exactly. But honestly, but it was like so insane. And that's just like the first couple of days afterwards. Then you start getting the notes in and whatever, that you're required to do this. And especially when they went into and stole a dormant account. Yeah.
May we ask you, Carol?
Yes.
The amount that you were, the scam.
Oh,
do
my
you
gosh.
not feel comfortable?
Let's just say it's a lot, okay? A lot. Wells Fargo was just like one amount. Like I said, I could buy a house in the neighborhood, and my Bank of America was a dormant credit line, okay? I mean, now the banks say...
So they use that credit line.
Exactly, wow. And that's what I'm fighting now. I didn't know anything about it till I wake up and see, I get an email that I owe, what do you mean I owe? Or whatever the heck. And then this is where I've been fighting, okay? Yeah. And, but this is like really weird with Bank of America. I get back in February 1st, dates are good. February 1st, I get this letter. So I said, okay, this is going to be one of those things. Pam happened to be home. It was non-school day. I go back to the bed, put all the paperwork out, start calling. I call. 2.5 hours later, call gets dropped or whatever the heck after speaking to 3 people. Mm. Now, in the middle of the night, and like I said, I don't take phones with me, but I took my phone to the bedroom, and 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I rolled up and said, I can't sleep, and look at the phone, and I say, my accounts are canceled. Okay, my account's canceled. And I'm not a morning person, as you can see by the time I came here. Anyway, so I go over to the bank and get the person, and she says, you're deceased. I said, really?
I don't think
I'm like, here, okay.
Oh my God.
So it took 2.5 hours of them clicking and whatever the heck and so on and so forth. And I'm back, so my nickname's Lazarus. But that just goes to show you the level. I am so sick of calling. Okay, last Friday, I get a phone call, and it was someone from Bank of America checking on the estate. And I said, what estate? Okay, so now I spoke to 3 different people, and then I get this gentleman, Brian. All right. Now, you can never get the same person twice.
No.
Okay, never. All right. This person, Brian, and I said, Brian, an attorney says not to pay on anything until you get paperwork that shows you authorized this. I didn't authorize anything. And then I told this person, he says, you're not going to get paperwork because it was never filed correctly. So now he takes me through 3 pages of information, which I had never given before. And he says, this is not a scam, because let's face it, if you're a victim of a scam, it's your fault. So you're responsible for anything that's stolen from you. That's what the bank says.
That's what's crazy. And the term, I think, Carol, bad actors.
Yes.
No, bad actors belong in Hollywood.
These
are criminals.
That's exactly.
That did this to you.
That's exactly.
That did this to you. We're going to take a break.
Sure.
Your daughter, Pam, is here, right?
Yes.
We're going to bring Pam on set in just a minute.
Okay.
And Lisa, I don't do this very often. I'm actually going to look into the camera and make a personal appeal on the behalf of Carol. I never do this.
Okay.
If you're involved at all with a consumer affairs group, or maybe you're involved in the banking industry, or you're a lawmaker, and perhaps you could bring some help to our guest here today. Obviously, you've heard she's gone every route possible. If there's any way that you can perhaps offer up some assistance, get a hold of us through our social media channels, and we'll help to make the connections, because Carol is just one of countless people, unfortunately, that this has happened to over the years. And it's time for us to say enough is enough. For people who prey on others, there's a special place in the basement for people like that, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So I very rarely make an appeal like this, but I'm so frustrated, and I share in Carol's frustration here on the set today. So if anybody can offer her any assistance, we would love to hear from you. Just contact us through our Be Inspired channels, and maybe we can get Carol some help. We're going to take a quick break. Her daughter, Pam, is going to join us next on Be Inspired. We are back on Be Inspired, joined on set by Carol Robinson, and her daughter Pamela is joining us here for this segment of Be Inspired. And Pamela, I'm under the impression that Carol, you're the, when she has to vent, you're the sounding board when she has things where she wants to just express her frustration of what this experience has been like for her.
Oh my God.
You're the person, I'm sure, she's been sharing most of this with, and you're the one who's in her corner, giving her the tremendous assistance, I'm sure, and helping her weather this very difficult storm.
Yeah, it's internalized a little bit, because she's a little bit more private than I am. If my foot hurts, I come in, I say my foot hurts, They'll kind of bounce around it and whatever the heck. I try to get to the point. But in this situation, I kept so much stuff back, and even with friends and so on. And because the first person I called after I realized was my sister. And
it's not easy to talk about.
No, it isn't. Yeah. And I didn't even play mahjong with my friends or anything. Now I'm back to doing that or whatever. I said, listen, I'm an optimist, but you've got to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. And this is, I was victimized, but I'm not a victim. I'm like a fighter, even at my age,
For me, I think the most difficult part of this is just knowing that you're right. Bad actors belong in Hollywood. These are criminals. Yeah. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it. I have a student that's not here that he says, "Keep it a buck, Miss Robinson. Keep it a buck." And keeping it a buck is basically knowing that there are people out there whose sole reason for eating and sleeping is to take what they don't have. And they are beyond expert at it. They are gold medalists at doing this.
They prey on others. They search for easy targets. They find vulnerabilities, and they pounce. That's how it works.
They pounce. And the fact that we do live in a society now based on, what it is, which is social media and being able to buy online and just opening up, you can go to the supermarket and they're going to have all the information they need from you, just from your courtesy card, and just ringing you up and you using a debit or a credit card. That's just the way the world is. This has been probably, other than my father's passing, the most difficult thing that I think we have been through. Seeing my mother when I come home from work some days, and just knowing that she's been on the phone all day, just being passed along from person to person to person to person, who, whether they're sitting at their desk and doing their due diligence, or sitting there and playing tiddlywinks so they can pass her off to somebody else, whether that's been the banks or whether that's been other people that she's spoken to. That to me is where I know I have to leave the room. And that's where she says I'm more private about that, because I'm beyond angry at the entire situation, because I don't think that people take seniors seriously. And I don't think that people take these crimes seriously, because it's so amorphous. It's like a number on a screen. It's not the same. It's just somebody picks your pocket. They pick your pocket. They take your money out. They may throw your wallet out, or they may steal your credit card. And that's a personal assault, right? They break in your car. That's a personal assault. They break in your home. That's a personal assault. You may get mugged on the street. That's a personal assault. But if it's just something that's across a computer screen, and there's just a name attached to it, we're so detached from some of this stuff that it's just like, okay, some lady called up today. I got a great story to tell you when I get home. And that's really hard to take.
And also it's so frustrating because these people could be anywhere.
That's it.
They're anywhere.
They're little
They're anywhere.
They're everywhere.
You can't even, it's so difficult to trace.
And sometimes they're in a region of the world that you just can't get to them.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I just
frustrating
picture this.
too.
I just picture this bad actor, like say in like a little mud hut, you know, or whatever the heck, and I hope he's taking my money and like say build a mansion or something or other. But still, it's just you know, it's.
I have to ask though, what does the bank take any responsibility for this whatsoever? Because they really should have some sort of red flag in place when you're doing that.
It's my fault, because that, you know, they call it's my fault. All right. Especially with the Wells Fargo, because I did the wire transfer. Okay. You know, so it's my fault.
Right.
Okay. But the Bank of America, they're still digging around and trying to find a loophole. Because in the beginning, I wrote Mr. Garofalo, who's the president of the New Jersey branch, and then I did a certified letter, and I had to handwrite because I didn't have use of my computer, you know, until I said, wait a minute, you know what I can do? I can type an email to one of my other accounts, and then I can print the email out, and then I can paste that and send it, you know. So I'm pretty savvy on the computer or whatever for a senior, but still in all. And then I sent a certified letter to Brian Moynihan, who was the CEO of, I did a deep dive to find him. I did a deep dive for Garofalo, you know, and so that I did a certified letter to, so that I could get it, you know, find out that he did get it. And, but it's just sort of like, you know, you're just like a grain of sand in this whole thing. And I just get the feeling it's David and Goliath, widows and orphans, and you're sitting there, you know, lighting your cigar with my $100 bill or whatever, you know.
Pam, what do you feel that you should do moving forward for your mom? What steps do you think you want to take? Because the level of anger I would have would be off the charts as yours is.
Right. I don't even know where to begin. I wish that people, instead of paying lip service, actually put truth to power, put action to words, and really get a finer tuned understanding as to what is happening out there. Theft doesn't know political, red or blue. It just knows I want what I want when I want it, and I'm going to get it by any means necessary. And as far as financial institutions are concerned, why don't we ask some of the people who got, ripped off by the Bernie Madoffs of the world? Let's just say he's not the only one who committed crimes against people.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's sort of like there are, it's the oh well effect. Oh well is not going to cut it anymore.
Right. Let me take Lisa's question a step further.
Yeah.
The bad guys aside, forget about the bad actors. Let's throw them back to Hollywood where they belong. What will it take to make you whole, Carol? You're not looking for billions of dollars from people for your pain and suffering. You just want to be made whole at the end of the day. Is that fair?
Right. Even a portion or whatever, back or so on. I mean, we live very frugally. I mean, talk about, you need super bling or whatever. My bling is the fact that this year I can't give a scholarship in my husband's name. That's this kind of stuff. That's my bling. The fact that we adopted 2 kitties and our older kitty was sick. And when at the time that, you take them to the local hospital, vet hospital, you were talking $5,000 right away.
It's a lot.
And normally I just, would write a check or something like that. I couldn't do that. Christmas came. I couldn't do all, like the gifts. I mean, we did. I mean, at this age, I don't need anything or whatever.
Yeah, the best Christmas ever.
I know, it's like the relatives and so on and so forth all together and so on. But it's just those little things. I mean, or whatever. We live we have, a nice home. We live frugally and so on and so forth. But I just think that it basically, it wasn't my money. It was mine to leave to everyone, That
you have done so much over the years. Carol was hometown hero. You volunteered anywhere and anyhow that possible. And you live in my town. And I'm so glad we got to meet. But for someone like you who just lived a good, honest life, and you raised a beautiful daughter, and your husband was a wonderful man, and I'm so sorry he's not here, makes us so angry that you deserve to do whatever you want to do. It was your life. You worked hard for that. So I can only hope that, someone out there can figure out some way to even, not even like Carol said, I don't need all of it, just some justification for
right.
it.
I really, as I said, justification for a lot of those people out there, these seniors, I'm saying,
so many.
Whatever. It's just so many of them. That's the whole thing. To have some time, right now, it's, you almost feel a little embarrassed because you've got, we're talking about Ukraine. You got people who are just bombed out of their homes and, living on the street and so on and so forth. And here I am talking about, lost money and they've lost everything, lives and so on and so forth.
Awful.
But everything, and then the government will come in, like say, if they threw me out of my house, then the government has to come in and supply money for me to live someplace. So why don't you put that into the effect that it can reach people who are in this situation.
And Pamela, you know your mom better than anyone. Would that make her at whole? Would that bring her at peace with what she went through if she was just made whole at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My parents have given so much to this community. My father was sacrificed so much. Some of the indignities that he would never talk about. He was a Vietnam War veteran, among other things. He was a captain with Trans World Airlines, which was a legacy airline. Yeah. He was on the board of Central State Medical Center. He was the CEO of IEP Youth Services. My parents have always given back. My mother has been involved with the Girl Scouts of Monmouth County for over 50 years. Our lives, their lives, have always been about service and giving back to those who don't have as much. That's what our lives are about. And to see this situation just sort of being tossed away to the side because it's just not something that's important to someone to look into or to deal with in a whole manner is really not acceptable to me.
Yeah. And for a family of fighters, and we want you, Carol and Pamela, we want you to both keep fighting.
Or any other family. Because there are other families out there that are dealing with this just the same way. And maybe they don't have an advocate or a forum like this, thank you so very much, to be able to get their word out.
That's right.
It has been very difficult.
I'm so sorry. I pray something happens in your favor soon, and that someone is brought to
you
justice.
Keep fighting, and we're going to keep fighting for you, Carol and Pamela, that's for sure. And thank you for being here today to tell your story.
Oh, gee, and thank you for having us. And I said, we would have loved to have met you under different circumstances, you know, so, right.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness.
Celebrate someday,
So we want to put the appeal out once again. If you're someone who could offer perhaps any assistance or advice or any information that Carol and Pamela can find helpful in this, this happens to countless people, countless individuals, but we want to go to bat for them here today on this edition and this episode of Be Inspired. Please contact us through our social media channels if you have any information about or just a direction that they should go in to perhaps get this wrong righted. And that's what it is all about here on today's episode of Be Inspired. Thank you both again for being here.
Thank you for having us again.
Thank you for coming.
I'm Burt Barron.
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
And we thank you for watching Be Inspired.
Hi, I'm Carol Robinson, and I came on Be Inspired because the word has to go out, and I feel I've done volunteering all my life, helped people all my life, and if I could help just one person save the embarrassment of this situation, I will have done my job, and Be Inspired would have done their job. Because like I said, we have to forget the mistakes of the past, press on to the greater achievements of the future. And that's what I want for all of you.
Next on Be Inspired.
Child abuse is a heavy topic and people don't want to talk about it. We come in at Child Wellness Institute, we're not judging, right? Because we all have our stuff. But does anyone ever ask you about your stuff? Parents were realizing that a lot of the way they're parenting is the way they were parented, because we can literally bring our services to anyone that needs it. They know they have it within them to be able to succeed, and their life can be a success, right? They just sometimes need to hear it from other people that they're able to make it happen.
Be Inspired with your hosts, Burt Barron and Lisa Anderson-Puleo. Directed by Rod Weber. Created and produced by Michael R. Doyle. Co-producers, Burt Barron, Lisa Anderson-Puleo, Rebecca Gruber, and Erwin Sternberg. Executive producers, Rod Weber and Sean M. Sternberg. Editor, Rebecca Gruber. Filmed at New Beginnings Foundation, Wall Township, New Jersey. The IJ Nephropathy Foundation was established in 2004 to find better treatments and ultimately a cure for this chronic kidney disease, which can end in dialysis and needing a kidney transplant. For more information, please visit IGAN.org. In this world of so much negative news, we need inspiration. Be Inspired is created for appreciative audiences just like you. So please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any of our upcoming inspiring stories. Be Inspired is filmed in front of a live audience. If you would like to attend a filming of Be Inspired, or if you know someone who has an inspirational story that should be shared with the world, please contact us at info@mrdproductionsllc.com. That's info@mrdproductionsllc.com.